Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer, and we are coming to you with some breaking positive news regarding the contract negotiations between the 49ers and defensive end Nick Bosa. This report coming from Jason Dumas, who is the sports director at KRON TV Channel 4 in San Francisco. And Dumas is reporting that the 49ers and Bosa believe that Bosa will be available to the team and ready to play week 1 in Pittsburgh. He's reporting that the two sides plan to get a deal done within the next few days. And this is positive news, as I mentioned, and this is from a source that I trust, Jason Dumas with KRON TV in San Francisco Channel 4 there, the sports director. He has been able to break some big news in the past regarding contracts in the NBA. He's done it with football as well, but this is a credible source, and this timeline makes a lot of sense. And this is also why I put credence into this report from Jason Dumas, saying that the 49ers are going to get this done within the next few days. This kind of matches the time frame that I felt a deal would get done. I felt like the 49ers, Nick Bosa, this was going to be a contentious debate going through. I felt like this was going to get done at the end of training camp after the preseason was over with. We are past that point now. The cut down date came and went yesterday. The 49ers first game is coming up on Sunday. When you look at these next few days, today is only Wednesday. So I think between Wednesday and Sunday, this deal is going to get done. So that's these next few days. I would expect to see Nick Bosa on the practice field when the 49ers return to Santa Clara to begin that first week of preparations, that week heading into the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, how much will he play if he signs? That's going to be another question to answer as we go through. I would expect that it might not be in a full-time capacity. I think it would be more along the lines of what we saw back in 2019. If you remember, during Nick Bosa's rookie season, he missed a lot of training camp that year with an ankle injury. Didn't play at all in the preseason, missed most of training camp even. And we really didn't get our first glimpse of Nick Bosa in a 49ers uniform until week 1 at Tampa Bay. And in that game against the Buccaneers, Bosa was not on the field all the time. He was more of a situational pass rusher in that game. And I think that's what we'll see from Nick Bosa if this report holds true and we see him on the field on Sunday, the first week of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So positive news here. It's been a long, drawn-out process. The 49ers have stated that they put the money away, that they had budgeted for a Nick Bosa deal. All signs point for Nick Bosa and this deal going to be one of those that breaks the bank, making Nick Bosa the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. One of the things that I've said quite often is that the 49ers need Nick Bosa more than Nick Bosa needs the 49ers. And I still stand by that, because although I think the 49ers have a very solid squad, one that can reach the playoffs, if they're going to reach a Super Bowl, if they're going to fulfill all of the potential that they expect, if John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan are finally going to get over the hump and get that brass ring that they've been chasing all along, they're going to need Nick Bosa on their side. They're going to need Nick Bosa on the field ready to go. Because without Nick Bosa, this is not a Super Bowl winning team in San Francisco. So there you have it. Positive news. Jason Dumas out of San Francisco, KRON TV sports director, reporting that Nick Bosa will be with the team and available to play week 1 in Pittsburgh. The two sides plan to get a deal done within the next few days. All signs pointing to this with a positive conclusion for the San Francisco 49ers. In the meantime, when you look at some of the other names around the 49ers, you look at their pass rush. Right now, the 49ers defensive line only has 8 players. They cut down to their 53-man roster yesterday. They only kept 3 defensive ends. Those defensive ends were Clelin Ferrell, Drake Jackson, and that's it. And they went short at that defensive end spot. I think they understand that Nick Bosa is going to come back. I expect to see some more deals come down. I expect to see Kerry Hyder Jr. signed. Hyder has flexibility to play both inside and outside. I also expect to see them bring back Austin Bryant as well. The other player that they kept on that 53-man roster, it was a defensive end, rookie Robert Beal Jr. Robert Beal Jr. is a prime candidate to be placed on IR, because now that he's past the 53-man roster point, he can be placed on IR and brought back at a later date. He's not somebody that we saw practice very much, and I think the 49ers just didn't want to have him shelled for the entire season. So keeping him on the 53-man roster means they can bring back Robert Beal Jr. later on. But when you bring back Nick Bosa and you're able to bring him in, In the meantime, if Bosa isn't able to play the entire game out in Pittsburgh, what I would expect to see is Drake Jackson on one side, Clelin Ferrell on the other. And that's a good combo in terms of run defense. Clelin Ferrell really does a good job of setting the edge. Same with Drake Jackson. Pass rush, a little suspect, especially with Drake Jackson. Clelin Ferrell showed some explosiveness, showed some good get off during training camp. He's a player that I really like. I know he's coming from the Raiders. He'd been a disappointment as a top pick of the Raiders. And I think that's really what it comes down to with Clelin Ferrell. He's a really nice player, but because of the fact that he was overdrafted by the Raiders, by Mike Mayock, when he came out of Clemson, that put a big shadow over Clelin Ferrell. And part of the reason people have looked at him as not a good player is just because he was overdrafted. But he's a solid player. He's in that mold of Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis type of a player. You know, those guys who good depth pieces that can come in, fill the need for you, play multiple positions like Jordan Willis and Omenihu. Ferrell has that ability to play inside and outside as well, although he has spent most of his time in San Francisco so far working only on the outside, and he looks good there. Another name to keep an eye on, and I just mentioned him, the Las Vegas Raiders releasing Jordan Willis during their cutdowns. So Jordan Willis is available. We'll see if the 49ers and their former defensive end are able to work out a deal to bring him back to San Francisco. That would be a nice possible fit as well, to bring him in, a guy that we know can play both inside, outside. Jordan Willis also with tremendous versatility when it comes to his ability on special teams as well. So if you're looking at where the 49ers are right now, there's a possibility that Nick Bosa is going to get done by Sunday. That's my deadline. I think they'll get it done by Sunday. In terms of Jordan Willis, this is a now free agent that the 49ers know well, that the 49ers have been able to have success with, that I think will be coming back possibly to the 49ers. Would make a lot of sense for them to be able to try to sign him to their practice squad or sign him to their active roster now that he's cleared waivers. So on the defensive line, things are starting to shape up. You also have we haven't really seen much of Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave as of yet along that defensive line. I would expect we're going to see some big things out of them. They have looked very good during training camp. We just haven't seen them in the preseason, and so you haven't seen them go up against somebody else yet. But those guys have been playing at a very high level, both Armstead and Hargrave. Meanwhile, the 49ers did keep Javon Kinlaw and Kevin Givens on the roster along with Kalia Davis. I felt like Givens and Kinlaw struggled throughout training camp in the preseason, especially holding their point on the run game, whereas Kalia Davis was much better there. A couple of other guys that they might bring back onto the practice squad, Marlon Davidson, a veteran defensive tackle who really looked good throughout camp. And I think T.Y. McGill also. T.Y. McGill, a really good run-stuffing defensive tackle, can get after the quarterback a little bit, but he's more of a run stuffer. So there you have it. Take it for what it's worth. Nick Bosa, according to Jason Dumas of KRON TV in San Francisco, stating that Nick Bosa will be with the team week 1 in Pittsburgh, that the two sides are working to get a deal done within the next couple days. There you have it. Take it for what it's worth. Thank you for tuning in. If you can do me a favor, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed. And last but not least, turn on your notifications. There's going to be a lot of news around the 49ers in the coming days with this roster as they get ready to start preparations for week 1 out in Pittsburgh. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon.